you know what? That's a good number, I think. Um, we're going to talk about basketball, but not in a way that we're going to talk about actual highlights or sports.
Yeah. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind.
Good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're watching this podcast. This is going to be episode, I think 50 actually, of the 476ers podcast, which is you know what, that's a good number, I think. We're going to talk about basketball, but not in a way that we're going to talk about actual highlights or sports. I think the playoffs are going to start again Saturday. If they are, I will put out another episode kind of going over some of the basketball storylines. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Now, if you've been following along, if you've been following my podcast for a while, then you will know that I did a Black Lives Matter podcast back in I want to say that was in May. Where I talk about George Floyd. It was after George Floyd, and I talk about racism pretty much in America. Now, I've also been talking about racism with Fred on this podcast many times. And you know, it's I'm not going to get too heavy into that. If you want to hear history, if you want to go over the history of of racism in America, check out my Black Lives Matter podcast. Not only do I talk about some of the history there, but I also give some references of things that you can go out and check out on your own to educate yourself. But I want to talk about what the basketball players decided to do in light of the attempted murder of Jacob Blake, who was shot in the back 7 times in Wisconsin for no good reason. I don't give a fuck. Let's spend a second here real quick. I don't really care what you think. If you think he should have been shot, I don't really care about your opinion. Apparently they tased him. He didn't go down on taser. Shout out to him. There's 3 cops on the scene, I believe. You could have gotten him. You could have gotten to him. If you really wanted to subdue him, you could have subdued him. Now, you could have subdued him and killed him, just like they did George Floyd, right? So that there is no right answer. They shot this man going into the car, and I don't care what this man was going to reach for, because you know what? If he was going to reach for a gun, let's say he was going to reach for a gun. Yeah, you know what? Cops are there killing black people, and he may be fucking scared for his life, and I don't blame him. Breonna Taylor just fucking died. George Floyd just died. He might have been reaching to protect himself. I don't think that's what he was doing, but if you want to run with that dumbass narrative, help yourself. I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? I'm cool if he was reaching for that to protect himself, because black people in this country don't think cops are coming to protect them. You know what I mean? Because history has shown that they're not. Jacob Taylor was there stopping a fight, was there to break up a fight. And the cops were called, and here they come and shoot him. So the NBA, I don't know what I want to talk about here. Honestly, I'm just spitballing. I just wanted to talk about it, you know, and I wish there was someone here to talk about this with, you know, to spitball off of or ask questions, but there's so many feelings. I'm going to start here, because one thing did bother me about the NBA's response here. Let's be clear. The Bucks did not the Bucks boycotted the game. All right, they went on strike. They went on strike and they boycotted the game. The NBA then released a statement that the games were postponed. The games were not postponed, and that is co-opting the movement, in my opinion, and that is problematic. I did not like that when it happened. I tweeted it almost immediately. You know, that I wish the NBA did not release that statement. I want the NBA to find the teams, and let me tell you why I want them to find the teams. Because what the teams did is a statement against systematic racism, against the system, against the higher powers, right? The powers that be. That's what they're taking a statement against and a stand against. They don't want permission. They don't care about your permission. That's not what it's about. Getting your permission is saying that you're allowing a protest to happen. That's not what a protest is. A protest is not a thing that is because it's allowed. In this country, it's allowed, but they're protesting because something is unlawful and unjust. And the Bucks did not come out at that game, and it surprised everyone. There have been rumors and rumblings that teams that might decide to boycott games. The Bucks said, "Fuck it, we're not showing up." I mean, they showed up, but they didn't come out on the court. The NBA did not postpone games. That was them saving face for whatever stupid reason. And the problem with that is the players came down here on a couple of conditions. One, that they'd be safe from the virus. That is, mind you, everyone is still fucking happening. I guess people have forgotten. The coronavirus that is still happening in this country, that has killed now more people than the flu, but, go fucking figure. That they'd be safe from the coronavirus, and that they would have the opportunity they would have a platform and an opportunity to speak out on social justice issues. And shout out to the players who have been fucking vocal. Man, they are heroes to me. You know what I mean? And I don't use that word often. Let me be clear. I hate calling any human being a hero, because that puts them on a pedestal that is truly unachievable. You know what I mean? There is no way they can achieve it. Look, imagine, like, put it this way, right? This is going to sound so stupid, but it makes sense in a second. Imagine if you found out, like, Superman watches porn, right? Would he seem so heroic to you anymore after that, right? These are human beings. That's why when they come out, when Deshaun Jackson comes out and says the Hitler quote, or when Kyrie comes out and says the world is flat, you have to take those things with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? And shout out to Vic, who's been on this for a while. And I always question this, because I always think, I'm always scared when you have someone who's a hero, someone who's outspoken, who you're able to pick apart, and specific to the Kyrie thing, because when you have someone that's so easy to pick apart, that you can have people come out and say, well, he believes the world is flat. What the fuck does he know about racism, right? That causes other issues, and that sucks. It pisses me off, because you're clouding the conversation that needs to happen. And Vic is always, on top of that, saying, no, fuck that. We should be better than that, right? But my point will always be, these guys are humans. You know what I mean? So they're not the best example. Steven Jackson went from hero to ostracized in the span of a week, because he came out speaking out for George Floyd, who was his friend. The next week was backing up Deshaun Jackson on the Hitler comments, and boom, now they buried him. Yeah, but what he was doing about George Floyd was not wrong. The anti-Semitism, yeah, that was wrong. Okay, but the George Floyd thing wasn't wrong. So players have been speaking out. They have been at the forefront. Jaylen Brown, I hate you because you're a Celtic, but as a man, I love you, man. I love that fucking guy, bro. Man, I'm so proud of that dude. Every time I see him say some shit, I'm proud. He doesn't say a fucking thing that's dumb. Man, he was apparently, there were sources that he was at a meeting. I think yesterday the players met, and we're talking about going home. And Jaylen stood up and said, when you talk about going home, are you going home because you're lonely? This is what sources said. Are you going home because you're lonely and you want to see your families? Or are you going home to fight injustice? What are you going home for? And that was that's some heroic shit to say. My man has said multiple times he don't want to be a hero. He's 22 and blah, 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 blah. Listen, bro. What's his face? Freddie Hampton was a young man when he was killed by the FBI. All right? Jaylen, you are a leader right now. You're a leader. You're a fucking hero to people. And just take it, man. Just take it. Just take it and run with it, because you have earned it. You've been at the forefront. Every time you talk, people respect it. I respect the shit out of it. Man, that dude makes me happy, yo. Like, I hate him because he's a Celtic. I hate that I got to watch him. I hate that he killed my Sixers, no question. But, man, every time I hear him talk, that dude inspires me. He inspires me. Donovan Mitchell, Chris Paul, LeBron is a fucking hero, man. He's a god among men. Shit, Michael Jordan came out, apparently. There were stories of Michael Jordan dealing. One of the things that, and I tweeted this yesterday too, NBA owners, you have been profiting off of the images of black athletes for years and years and years. The reason why people want to come into the NBA so bad, there is no sport like the NBA. The reason why LeBron can take the worth of the Cavaliers from $1 billion go to the Heat and that net worth can drop $200 to $300 million is due to the nature of the sport of basketball, which is a lot of individual expression. You know what I mean? Kyrie Irving is an artist on a basketball court. He is. James Harden is an artist. Not all basketball players are that, but these two guys especially, Luka to an extent, these guys are artists. The way they can handle the ball, so creative with their moves. These are artists on the court. Basketball is the only sport that is a true individual expression, in my opinion. There is no sport like that where you can take the thing you're playing with and do something. Soccer. Soccer is another good one. A little bit harder. Hockey, I guess you could say too, but it's just different. The way the hockey puck moves and the way a basketball moves, you can't recreate that. You know what I mean? You can't dribble like that like you can do in basketball. And that's why one guy can make such a difference on a basketball court. You know what I mean? And not only on a basketball court, but to the value of a franchise. So these players want, rightly, the owners to step up. The Magic are owned by the DeVos family. DeVos, from previous fame of Betsy DeVos, who had no fucking business being the head of the Department of Education, who sucks. That's the owner of the Magic family. She is family. She is part of the family that owns the Magic. All right. Kelly Gillibrand is part owner of the of a WNBA team. That's why they're trying to kick her out. She's a fucking racist. Donald Sterling, we're not that far removed from Donald. I tweeted that yesterday too. We're not far removed from Donald Sterling. It's time to hold owners accountable. You're making billions. Your valuation of your franchise and you being in the billions is due to black athletes. Due to a lot of black athletes. To a game that in this country has been taken to the next level. Why? Because of a black athlete. So demanding more from the ownership is 100% necessary. It's the right move from the players. And who's been at the forefront of that other than the players? Michael Jordan. Shout out to him. We've been calling him into question for a long time now. He put out a fund, especially after the death of George Floyd. I forgot what the fund was. I think it was to help put kids through college, maybe. I can't remember. But he's been at the forefront with owners, telling owners it's time to listen, not talk. Apparently, that's what the story that came out today was. It's time for you to listen and not speak. Listen to the players. Listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they're asking. These guys are billionaires. Money where your mouth is. That is what makes change. That's what makes change in this country, unfortunately, is money. The owners need to step up for sure. They need to step up for sure. Credit to I think the Milwaukee Bucks owner helped the players get in contact with the Attorney General possibly or something like that. There was some sort of involvement there, demanding justice for Jacob Blake. You know, the NBA and the WNBA, no surprise, black women in this country have been at the forefront of change forever. Maya Moore has been working on this shit for 2 years. That's why she left her basketball career. You know what I mean? Black women have been at the forefront of this country for so long. They're the most educated people in the country, most degrees, all of it. The WNBA and the NBA have been at the forefront of all of this, and they make me proud to be basketball fans. The NFL has always rubbed me wrong. You know what I mean? They've always rubbed me wrong. Everything they did about Colin Kaepernick, even this dude's statement recently is hollow. You know what I mean? Roger Goodell's statement recently is hollow. I don't want to hear that. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Why? Because people now are saying it? Because you're going to alienate a portion of your fan base? Because you see what's happening is as time is going on, more and more white people are coming along. And I see it. I see it with white people I talk to. I see them coming along from where they were 6 months ago to where they are today is night and day. I hear it when they talk. And your fan base is going to start getting more and more alienated as more and more people are waking up. You know what I mean? So now you released a statement that you handled the Kaepernick situation wrong. If you didn't blackball him, then why did you even say you handled it wrong? You know, that doesn't really make sense or look good. And it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't look good. So, you know, it's tough. If you don't stand with the players protesting, then you don't deserve to be fans of these sports or of these players, in my opinion. You shouldn't be fans of anybody. Because these are human beings. These aren't robots. These are not inanimate objects that are here for your fucking – it's not like you turned on your Xbox and Call of Duty protested you playing. Call of Duty didn't take a knee on you. That's software. I can see that. It's not like Microsoft Word opened up and then crashed because it just didn't want to work today because it's protesting. These are human beings. They're human beings who live in the community of America, a community that a lot of them have been dealing with. See, the Mo Harkless story was real. I know a lot of people who've experienced that. You know what I mean? Get stopped by a cop. I mentioned this about fitting the description, and I actually reposted that today on Instagram about what it's like to have a cop tell you fit the description. And I mentioned how I'm this 6'4", 450-pound Puerto Rican dude, and they told me I fit the description of another Puerto Rican dude. How? It's not a lot of these guys. Not a lot of me running in Philadelphia. Well, Mo Harkless gets pulled over by the cops, told there's problems in the blah, 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 blah. Fits the description. Whose car is this? And then they find out he's Mo Harkless, and they say, oh, have a good game tonight. What? The fuck? You see, we have been taught in this country for so long. We have been biased to black skin. Even in things like, this is going to get a little deep, but even in things like Band-Aids. Band-Aids, for the longest time, were sold to us as flesh-colored Band-Aids. Except they didn't match anybody's flesh that wasn't white. So how could they be flesh-colored? Right? When black people don't have that color flesh, how are they flesh-colored? Right? Things like that are how racism has slowly been ingrained in our consciousness. That's why there are so many stats about how black women are not believed when they go to the doctor, that the percentage of black women who give birth die at a far higher rate than any other race. It's it's crazy. It's not 50-50, but it's a really crazy number. To be a black woman to give birth is fucking terrifying in this country. Doctors, there's a biasness among doctors that they still believe that black people don't feel pain the same way other races do, that their black skin is thicker. Literally, their black skin is thicker. That's what they believe. There is still a large segment of doctors who believe that in this country. That is how racism persists in this country. That's why racism is systematic, right? That is all part of the system, is to slowly numb ourselves to the bias until we view a whole group of people as different, as truly different, as a different DNA. And therefore, we view them until we view them like an animal. You know what I mean? That's how racism happens in this country. That's how it continues to persist in the way that it does. Now, I went off topic. I completely forgot. So anyway, so that's why when cops see black people, they're biased. They immediately see them and they feel a threat, even though there's no threat. And then when black people see cops, they feel the same threat. That is the nature of policing in this country and black communities. You know what I mean? So, shout out to the NBA. I didn't mean to get so off topic but whatever. This is part of this conversation. I just, they postponed the games were not postponed. They were boycotted. They striked or whatever. They struck. They stroke. They didn't stroke. They struck. Whatever. They striked the games. You know what I mean? They boycotted them. The players chose not to come out. They weren't given permission to not come out, and that's why I want the NBA to fine them. They weren't given permission. And I don't want them to be given permission. I want the players to be like, no, fuck your permission. You know what I mean? And let the owners pay that fine. Fuck your permission. We didn't do this hand in hand with you because you guys weren't doing enough, and we decided to take this into our own hands. And I respect that, man. LeBron didn't want to continue playing. The Clippers and Lakers voted to not play. It wasn't a vote, apparently. Apparently, it was more like taking the temperature of the room, and Clippers and Lakers were kind of like, nah. LeBron is a leader. That man is a leader. Man, let me tell you something. That dude is, on one hand, trying to get Biden elected, which, whatever, is not the sexiest thing, but it's the only choice. Essentially, on one hand, trying to influence an election is trying to get people to not be fucked in voting. Listen, we see that this administration is actively going out of their way to slow down voting. Why do they not want more voting? Because they know that more voting means that Trump is the fuck out, right? They're actively trying to stop that from the mail, continuously fucking up the mail. The mail thing is really depressing. John Oliver did a piece on the Mail, I think 2 years ago. It's crazy how prescient that is now, because he talked about how, maybe it was a year ago, how there were laws in place that essentially forced the USPS to constantly report a loss. They are operating at a loss, not because they're operating at a loss, but because laws are forcing them to do that. He go watch that piece. It explains it to you. It's no problem. It'll explain it to you. And here's LeBron out here trying to win a championship and trying to influence an election, and now is trying to continue pushing forward issues of social justice. What? That's a fucking Superman. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? You know how fucking crazy that is? People think, again, I've said this on this podcast before. We value money with worth, right? Money is worth to people. What does that mean, right? That seems so obvious, right? Money is worth to people. So your earning is what, in my opinion, allows Kanye to always come out, say crazy shit, and then go back to the lab and make some shoes and music, and everyone's cool with it. Because then he comes out, reports that he's a billionaire, and people are like, hey, Kanye for the win. He's a billionaire. Even though he's going to come out and now say that slavery is optional. Somebody's money becomes how they are judged in the society. So then what happens is, for a long time, you know what? I actually had this cloud over my eyes for a long time too. Why is this person complaining? Because this country taught us to only look out for ourselves. You see what I'm saying? This country, and that's important. We only look out for ourselves, right? So you see Colin Kaepernick kneeling, and you ask the question, why is he kneeling? Why does LeBron care about this? You're a millionaire. What are you talking about? Right? And I said this in the Black Lives Matter podcast. You'll give them money, but won't give them change. Correct. That's why. That's why people think that all you are out for is money. Even when a woman goes and says she's raped and goes to press charges, people think that the only reason that they're suing is for money, is for the payout. They don't realize that the lawsuit is an accusatory thing. They cannot take this to court. If you were raped 10 years ago, the statute of limitations has passed, and the only way you can find justice is by doing it this way. The money is, sure, it's a cherry on top. I guess it don't fix the fucking trauma. See, it's funny because I was talking about this. Money doesn't buy happiness, that thing, right? That trope. Sometimes I think money doesn't buy happiness is a thing that's spread out by like elite people who want to keep people down, kind of. You know what I mean? Where it's like, no, but money doesn't buy happiness. You can find happiness by being poor, right? To me, when someone says money doesn't buy happiness, what it really means is when a woman is raped and goes and sues somebody and makes $1 million, her trauma doesn't get fixed by that $1 million, regardless of what your dumbass may think. Regardless of what you may think. You can give them $1 billion. Their trauma isn't fixed. They may not be able to trust a man ever again. They may not be able to have sex in a correct way ever again, or have a healthy relationship with a man or with someone of the opposite sex ever again. But yeah, they got a couple mil, sure. That doesn't fix their trauma. And that's the same thing that these athletes are dealing with, man. The money doesn't fix that. How does George Floyd get fixed because LeBron is a millionaire? You think he's the only person culpable? He can't pay for all of them. He does so much for, anyway, listen, I don't have to get on here and talk about everything LeBron does. I would be spending 2 podcasts doing that. We need to evolve as people and learn to listen and learn to be empathetic. You know what I mean? Let's be empathetic. Let's believe in people. Let's fucking love people. When you see someone get shot, stop asking, oh, well, why are you looking at their records for? What the fuck does that have to do with this man getting shot for no fucking reason? So you know how many white people I know who should have records or who do have records or ex-drug addicts or whatever? Should they be shot and then me go and say, well, they were shot because look at this litany of dumbass charges? What are you fucking talking about? What are you even saying? It's a shame. It's a shame. As far as we come, sometimes we just don't come far enough, and that's the reason why the players have boycotted the playoffs for the last few days. Because as far as we've come, it's still not far enough. I mean, we still got so far to go. You know what I mean? We still got so far to go. Jacob Blake was just shot this week. 7 times. I don't know how he survived that. Shout out to him. But that man must have the strongest back ever. There's no back stronger than him. To survive that. Point blank. Yeah. As far as we come is never far enough, and that's the fucking problem. And that's the problem. We're still fighting for Breonna Taylor's cops. And if you I don't even know if I want to explain the Breonna Taylor thing. I don't even know if I should. They should be arrested. Not only should the cops be arrested, let me be clear. It's not just the cops that should be arrested who did the no-knock entry thing. It's also, even though, yeah, people, he banged on the door, blah, 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 shut the fuck up. If you've ever had a cop, I've had cops knock on the door. Let me explain something real quick. I've had cops knock on the door looking for somebody. And when they knock on the door, it's how you imagine someone would knock on the door for smoke. I'm here for smoke, and I'm going to knock on the door in such a manner that is here for smoke. And they're screaming things that are inaudible. You can't hear them through the fucking door and the wall. It's not very clear. It's not a doorbell. Hey, this is the police. We need to, we're looking. No, it's a bang on the fucking door and yell things. Breonna Taylor didn't deserve to die. Not only did the cops deserve to be held accountable, the people above them who signed off on the no-knock warrant need to be held accountable. The people above them who signed off on stating that there was probable cause, that there was drugs moving through that apartment, even though there was literally zero probable fucking cause. One thing, you know what? I forgot to mention this about the Maurice Harkless thing. One thing I've learned in my time on this planet about police officers is that the way that they profile, their favorite way to profile is the fit the description or is that there's complaints in the area. That is how they pull you over for no reason. That is the legal stop and frisk. You see what I'm saying? You didn't do anything illegal. In the Maurice Harkless story, he mentioned that the cop at the end says, oh, you were going a little bit fast and blah, blah, blah. No, he probably wasn't. It's there's complaints in the area, blah, 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 or you fit the description. I didn't fit the description of no Puerto Rican dude robbing laundromats. Come on. What are you fucking talking about? Half the people can't tell I'm Puerto Rican. I fit the description? No. Most people don't fit the description. That is how they pull you over legally. And that's what happened here. They wanted to believe that. And they ran into this person's apartment. And I'm sorry, I thought, didn't we just get done arguing about but this is, again, none of this is in good faith. The Trayvon Martin thing. Stand your ground, blah, 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 blah. We're stand your ground now. When her husband shoots at the officers because they've broken into his fucking house, he doesn't know what's happening. And the cop shot back and killed her for no fucking reason. Where's the stand your ground crowd? Again, not good faith. Racists. Not good faith. Arrest the cops. Charge the whole chain of command. They all deserve it. They all deserve it. Not one life should be extinguished because of the ignorance of an entire group of people, man. It's just pretty much that fucking simple. I think I'll stop there for now. Heavy stuff. I think like I said, that the playoffs, I think, are going to start Saturday. If they do, I'll put out another episode. We'll talk basketball. We'll talk, things that don't matter. We'll talk about things that don't matter on that episode, and I'll make you laugh that way. But this is not a time to laugh. This is a time for sober thought, to be considerate. If you're mad that the athletes are taking a stand, look at yourself. Look within and see why that's problematic to you. You got questions to ask about yourself, about your own soul. So go ask those questions. Everyone, wash your hands. Stay safe out there. Wear a mask. Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Black Lives Matter. Arrest the cops who attempted to kill Jacob Blake. Shout out to the NBA players. All the love in the world to you guys. You may never hear this, whatever, but all the love to you. You deserve all of our fucking support, the support of this country. Fuck this administration. If you don't know where I stand, fuck them. Fuck these racists. Trump is a fucking racist lunatic. The RNC was essentially just a propaganda machine of racism and blatant fucking ignorant ideologies. That's where I stand. And if that's a problem, I don't have a whole lot of listeners. But if that's a problem to any of my listeners, then I'm sorry. That's where I stand. If you want to talk to me about it, you can talk to me about it. I'll explain it to you. And if you don't want to listen to me, then don't. It was nice to have you. It probably wasn't, though, if that's what you believe. Take care, everybody. Be safe. That's it. That's where I stop.
Yo. Justice for the blind. Just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind. Used to come